Hey people, it's DL Gamer, and welcome to an episode of what I call stupid shit on the internet. Now, obviously, that could mean a number of things, so what I'll be doing is specifically breaking down some stupid shit that I want to go over about resolutions and the falsehoods that people are running around on the internet, posting these stupid ass videos about 4K resolution, 8K resolution, 16K resolution, and just misunderstandings that people that are held in high regard that the people on the internet look at, or because they are a company who've established themselves, are literally, it's almost like they're using their establishment to spread false information, and then before you know it, you have a bunch of fucking idiots on a forum running around arguing with people because of the information that these assholes put out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for some viewers to come in here, and in the meantime, I'm just going to drink my coffee, eat my fish sticks, which they're fried, by the way, which isn't really healthy, and I got my Umbrella Corporation t-shirt on. So that being said, anybody that has any information that wants to type into the chat or wants to relay messages, I'm going to be breaking down very explicit pieces of information that it's going to be very interesting to know, so when you actually watch the assholes that push these videos out, you'll have a better understanding on why half of the shit that they're talking about or giving off the impression is an issue. And now, there are two types of assholes that I'm talking about, and I am calling these people assholes because they mislead their viewers by presenting information in such a fashion that it is literally giving off the impression that what they're talking about can be done with certain things provided it's set up right, and then never disclosing the remainder of the information, which is what makes their statements false if they're giving off that impression. But the thing here is, you can't talk about the stuff that these people are talking about in depth without knowing what I am going to finish inputting in here. And so people will have a problem or say, I don't know what I'm talking about or anything else. But you can do any type of research on what I'm talking about and you will find it. So jumping the gun on stuff without actually backing up what you're saying or looking around to actually get information from actual sources, saying something is true and then going to the sources that I'm talking about to have them say it's not true isn't an actual source. That's just you going in circles with circular logic trying to state, well, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, and then trying to use these people's information against me. Doesn't quite work that way. And so that would be like people complaining about YouTube in a video and then posting the video on YouTube, saying, well, I'm being censored on this, that, and the other thing, and then putting stuff in the video YouTube's going to censor you about so it doesn't get listened to. You wouldn't do that. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to, wait a few minutes and have some fish. That's alright, it's not the best. So let me start this by talking about this whole thing about 4K resolution. And again, I'm gonna wait till some people come in the chat, and I'm pointing over at the chat here because I can see how many people in here are viewing. I can't see who they are, but I can see if people are coming in here. Now, I don't know if it's counting me as my own viewer. Who knows? But whatever. So, might be a little bit of silence here for a bit. But, like I said, once viewers come in, I'll just state your name and serial number for the record. Just kidding. Now, the thing with this is if you take a look at what I'm doing for this particular video in general, and then you look at my channel, there are going to be people who profusely argue with me. And those are the people that it's almost like they'll tell you I'm attacking them with shit that's, it doesn't matter. What I'm doing is I'm correcting freaking inconsistencies and misinformation, and I'm filling in the gaps so people get pretty much the entire information instead of bits and pieces that somebody wants you to know about. Because I'll cite exactly what I'm talking about, and then I'll back it up and explain what I'm talking about in comparison to what they're saying, and you'll see that without the information that I'm relaying in that, you'll see that they're not giving you the complete pieces of what you're talking, what they're talking about. As I've said before, excuse me. As I've said before, I don't put shit up without doing, backed up information with full sources. I'm not going to tell people where I'm getting my sources from, because then if I do that, what happens is people will say, well, you're telling them that they can't get their sources from someplace. And if I tell you where I'm getting my sources, then what you'll do is you'll turn around and say to me that I'm giving you my sources because that's where I want you to go. I don't give sources because it's not that I can't give them. There's no point, because somebody will say, oh, it's your source. You're just giving the information that you want them to know. That's why I always tell people, search stuff, but you have to go outside of what you're talking about or the people you're talking about. You can't get somebody affiliated with them because they're just going to all have the same viewpoint, which skews your information. What's up, viewer? How's it going? I'm discussing the stupidity fucking level of people on the internet. If you have any questions or want to, comment in the chat section, that's perfectly fine. I just take up a contrary position, and basically the whole point of this stream is because my channel fills in the gaps that people love to leave out, and then people try to argue with me. And so by combining the information with what I'm saying, with anything I'm talking about, you'll be able to get the full picture. And so basically what triggered this whole video, if you want to use the word triggered for that matter, what got me to want me to talk about this shit is the whole 4K resolution bullshit that people are talking about, the 8K resolution, if you even know about that, and then the 16K resolution, because I'm not going to say exactly who it is, but I came across some assholes on the fucking net, because they're a group or a corporation or a company, so to speak, whether it's 4 people, 8 people, 1,000 people in a building, doesn't fucking matter. The point is that the way these people are doing these videos, and I actually call them assholes, the way these assholes are doing their videos, they are purposely setting them up, entitling their videos, so people will click on them, and then when people watch them, they actually leave out things that make what they're talking about actually work and viable. So when you see them, they set up and do things that they want you to know, but they never give you the back end of it. So now what happens is people that hold these assholes in high regard are all getting fucking false information. So I'm just going to go over shit about the 4K resolutions and things like that, because I actually got into a freaking debate with somebody and I shut them down because of one particular thing I said, and they couldn't get around it. And I won't just give one comparison. I'll start giving comparisons to show people, what you're talking about, not what you guys are talking about, what the people I'm talking about are talking about, and feeding people information, is that this is where a lot of shit starts. It's from assholes like this that start shit on the fucking net like that, and it spreads throughout the gaming community. And how it spreads throughout the gaming community is because they use their position of knowledge, or they know people go to them because they're a big YouTuber, so people go to them, and that's what people rely on. And then people say, well, they're a big YouTuber, they're obviously, it's bullshit. So let me start by explaining the 4K issue and why I bring that up. You don't need to know how 4K works. You need to understand how the displaying works. And I'll be using a bunch of very simple comparisons that are easy to understand. So let me start by explaining. It doesn't matter what the hell it is. A game, a movie, audio tracks, anything. If what you're watching is not made in that specific setting, then it doesn't matter what the fuck you run it through. It'll never be able to be played or viewed in that setting. If you have a 4K monitor, unless what you're watching through it has been made in 4K, it will never be displayed in 4K. It would be the equivalency of trying to run a VHS tape through a high-definition TV And then these assholes saying, well, you can watch HD TV because the TV is HD. It doesn't fucking matter what the TV does. It matters what you're running through it. So that would be the equivalency to a better explanation is trying to put a regular DVD into a Blu-ray player and then having it come out Blu-ray just because you have an HD TV and a Blu-ray player. What these assholes fail to explain that is unless the DVD itself and unless the movie itself on the Blu-ray player, never mind the disc, the movie itself must be filmed in Blu-ray quality or it will never come out Blu-ray no matter what the fuck you do to it. And that brings me to the point on 4K resolution in games and how I shut somebody's argument down that was trying to debate with me as I brought up a very specific game that was made before 4K resolution even existed. So what happens here is anybody thinking that you can play games such as Prototype in 4K resolution just because they have it hooked up to a 4K monitor has no fucking idea what they're talking about. 4K resolution means nothing more than what the resolution of the monitor or the TV is displaying. Just because you run something through that does not mean it's coming out in fucking 4K. It won't. Prototype was never made in 4K resolution. It was never made that way. And in order to view it in 4K or play it in 4K, it must be made in 4K. Prototype was made in 2009. Or, sorry, it was released in 2009. 4K didn't exist then. Blu-ray did, but 4K did not. So anybody trying to say that they're playing Prototype or any game like that for that matter before 4K was introduced in 4K because they're running it through a monitor is lying because they don't, either that or they're truly oblivious to what they're talking about. And they're getting this information from these fucking assholes I'm talking about that are putting this together. So you will see these fucking people putting together these huge displays talking about 2K, 4K, 8K, and even 16K. And then, you know, we got our monitors from this. Well, we got these graphics cards from this. That's all fucking well and good. None of that shit fucking matters unless what you're watching has been made in that fucking resolution, period. And so what happens here is this ties in with the downgrading on graphics, all right? And there's a bunch of comparisons that come into play with that because false advertising is tied in with that. So there's so many little things that are branching off of these areas that spread misinformation throughout the gaming community and then fucking people argue with me. So if you take a look at what I just said, trying to argue with me about a game, not saying you guys, but I'm saying if somebody wants to argue with me about a game, I just point blank and state. I said, go fucking hook a VHS player up to a high definition TV and fucking tell me how well that works for you viewing the fucking VHS tape in HD TV. It won't work. Now, bringing cable into this, I have Comcast. All right. Now I have a 50-inch flat screen TV. It's capable. It's a smart made ready TV, which means you can plug VHS AV. If you have a USB stick, you can stuff it in there, and then if you have videos on the USB stick, it'll play on the TV provided it has the same coding the TV has. Now, I can get DVD quality or I can get high definition quality. Now, if I get a high definition movie or a Blu-ray movie, the TV is capable of displaying that. Thus, the movie you're running through will display in that type of quality. So it's not just the TV you have to have, the quality and the codec and the resolution and the way the thing is made must be that way as well. Now, there's a difference between digitally encoding a movie so from a VHS tape to be put into Blu-ray. The picture's going to be much clearer, but it's still not going to be in Blu-ray. It's encoded to be played as Blu-ray, but again, the movie itself must be made that way. And games are the same way. I can display a game that has a 1400 by 900 resolution in any fucking monitor I want. That doesn't mean just because I'm playing it on the monitor, it's going to be crystal clear or in that resolution. It simply means the monitor will display anything you put on it. Again, what you're playing through has just as much, it literally must be the same. They must match. Then you run into the whole issue of your computer and what you're watching it on also must be able to support that as well. So it's not just about the TV doing it or the monitor doing it. You also have to have the components in your computer to be able to do that as well. Because if you don't have a high GPU, which most people do now, if you have like a GTX 250, for example, which is way beyond the point, it cannot even display DX11. So there'd be no way you can play it anyway. And this brings me back to where when Vista came out, or whatever it is. The reason I use Vista is because of what the fuck, Cryo, what the, I can't fucking remember, I can't remember the name of the game. But if I say fucking Crysis, sorry, Crysis. This led into a fucking debate about DX11, alright? Your computer can have DX11 in it. It's not gonna fucking matter if it has DX11 in it if what you're playing in it doesn't have DX11. So at the time that these DX games comes out, there are very few games made with this. So your computer will display if you go into the DX diag settings, it'll say you have DX11. The only reason it says DX11 is because it's running DX11 and everything underneath it. So anything that's, you know, used from DX9 or 10 or 6 or whatever it is on can be viewed in it. And so if you don't have a graphics card that has that capability in it to create that, you know, to get that pixeling, it won't display that way, period. So what people fail to understand is these assholes that are doing this shit on there think it's just, that will give the impression that you can do it just because the setup is there. I'm displaying it. No, you're not you're displaying what the monitor is allowing you to do, but what you're actually doing is only playing or viewing what the capability of what the frickin' item you're viewing has been made in. So there's a fine line between, again, Blu-ray, something that has been digitally encoded to be as Blu-ray, and then something that it isn't even made in Blu-ray. There are three different things that will come out with three different, you know, viewing. And so that brings into the other issue where you can encode something to have a specific resolution, but unless what you're coding to have in that specific resolution has been made in that resolution, it still will never display in that resolution. So again, you got a lot of factors involved here that these assholes that make these fucking videos fail to explain to you. And this is the information you need, because you can't just fucking set something up and go at it and just, oh, look at this, it's cool, it's in 4K. No. It's not, unless it's made like that. So now what you get into is the downgrading of graphics. Like, people went fucking ballistic from Watch Dogs. Okay, now the reason I bring up these assholes with this company is because Watch Dogs, the fucking whole problem with Watch Dogs came from one of these assholes I'm talking about, and that's why I'm calling them assholes. They start these fucking false things on the net by saying these fucked up things that have no connection to shit, and then because they said them, that's how it gets spread around. And all they do is they get paired up with other fucking people that are in the same stature, and before you know it, it's like trying to combat the U.S. government. You can't do it. And when I say combat, I don't mean run up and kill every and maim. I'm talking about legal procedures and everything else. That's what I'm talking about. Don't take that out of context. So, what you have here is these assholes who fail to explain to you the other end of why the graphics were the way they were in certain things. So, for example, I'll also bring The Witcher into this. And I'll bring Mass Effect 3 into this because of the ending on it, because everything, like I said, everything ties together. It's just once you understand the procedure for what the fuck is going on, it makes it easier to dissect what the hell people are talking about, and do people have a real reason to bitch, or are they just bitching to get their way, or is it some asshole that started a fucking rumor knowing everybody was going to blow it out of proportion? So let me start with the downgrading of the graphics. Using Watch Dogs, which is basically the thing that started the shitstorm in the first place. Watch Dogs had never had downgraded graphics. Never has, and I don't know where the fuck people got that from. What happened was a concept trailer that was made to show how a product is what advertising is. And that's where this false advertising shit comes into play that people are fucking talking about. Ubisoft came up with a concept to a game, and they basically had an audio, a video clip of it in audio, which they used to show. All companies in existence, no matter what the product is, will show their product being better than what it is. All products do that. The fact that the gamers only took and just attacked the video game developers for this, it shows you the stupidity fucking level, how they can't separate what the fuck they're even talking about. Because if you attack the video game developer for doing this, you have to attack every other product in existence. Which is Packaging, what something looks like, and everything else does not fall under false advertising, because if it did, nothing in existence would ever be able to be advertised. Food on menus would not be able to be advertised. Pictures on boxes would not be able to be advertised the way they are. Now, yes, it'll say product may vary or whatever it is, but that's not the fucking point. It doesn't need to say that, because false advertising has never been like that. Because like I said, if it was, the simple fact that nothing in existence would ever be able to be advertised proves this. This is called, sorry, I'm chewing on fish. This is called product advertisement. That's the way it works, always has been. Now, why I bring up the downgraded graphics problem, or lack of, is simply because the reason Watch Dogs has never had downgraded graphics is because at the time that shitstorm started, the game had never been made. Concepts of it were made, and the trailer was made, and some gameplay footage was made, but the game itself was never made. In order for something to be downgraded, it has to be made. You can't say something is downgraded when it's never been made. Give me a second. So what happens is, how can you fucking take something that has not been made and say, oh, it's been downgraded? Downgraded from fucking what? That brings me into the whole point about processors, because this all, again, everything ties into the same thing. You'll see the comparison I'm making here because of the processing power that people use in places such as overclocked.net. Another asshole fucking place, because people hold them in such high stature that they can't do anything wrong. And despite me even saying this, people will still argue. If people are going to argue that a game's graphics have been downgraded, despite that's not illegal, it's called advertising, there's nothing fucking wrong with it, they didn't lie to you. If somebody decides a product you see on TV or whatever it is going to be how it is, you have fucking issues. You can't, if you want to decide that, that's on you. But you can't blame the company because you decided that. Nowhere and ever, because that's not how advertising works. Now you bring that into the assholes that are talking about the graphics, in which is why I will bring up processors in places like overclock.net. A processor is done the same fucking way. It's jacked up to test the speed, which it could be run at max, and then it's then lowered so everybody can use it. Doing that in that fashion is the same exact way graphics are done in games. Same thing with movies. The encoding is done as high as it will possibly go to allow whatever viewing that they want, and then it is downsized when it's made. So the fact that the coding was still inside the game code is not even a fucking valid argument, because game coding is how they test stuff. And if you understand how programming works on games, there's something called commenting. Commenting is basically putting a symbol in that particular game's script, or that particular type of code script, that blocks out the entire passage so the game coding will never read it. And so it's easier to comment something out than to completely delete it, because it's just the way it is. It's a complex process, and that's really all I'm going to say about that. But the thing here is when you're talking about games being downgraded, if they didn't, run them at top end, in the same way they didn't do the processors at top end, and then lower the processing speed, there would only be a handful of people who would actually be able to use them, because the processors would run so fucking hot you need a specialized cooling system for that not everybody's got the money for. That is why they are toned down. They're sped up, tested, and then they're toned down at a public level. So the reason you can actually still jack up a processor to these speeds is because the speed capability has always been there. It's just been toned down. You just need to do something to unlock it or edit it or do something. In that fashion, games work the same fucking way. So what happens is, of course the coding is still there, because it's easier to comment the coding line out that you're having a problem with than it is to delete it, because you can actually cause other problems with the connection points on the scripting and the coding. And so what happens is these fucking assholes apply that shit to games, but they don't apply it to processors. Why not? The fucking process is exactly the same. It is literally the exact same thing. You don't see overclock.net pissing and moaning, they lied to us, this only goes this speed, look at this processor, it goes this speed when it was out, but look at If it wasn't allowed to go the speed, why is it still able to do this? And that's the stupid fucking points that I'm making that these fucking assholes do. So, as I was saying, there's no such thing as a downgraded graphic in a game. And even if there was, it wouldn't fucking matter. Because that's the shit that these fucking assholes that started this problem on the net don't tell you. Of course the coding's still in there. For said reasons. Of course you can fight. Of course it's going to be lowered. Because if you didn't, not everybody would be able to fucking run it. So when you run your product, you want to make it so that everybody, the general public can use it. Why do you think World of Warcraft is written cartoonish? It's because when they built the game, not everybody had a high-end computer to run it. So you need that type of graphic in so it's not demanding on people. WoW was written like that on purpose. Now, that's Blizzard development, but that's not the frickin' point. The whole point is this stupid fucking argument that everybody was using. Alright, so now you get into, I went off on that, but that's all the information you have to know that leads up to half the stuff I'm talking about. I'm going to let that sink in for a few. If you want to type something in the chat or whatever it is, go ahead, because like I said, people will say I rant, oh, you're going off, you're a madman and everything else, but if you actually listen to what I'm saying, you realize that everything I'm saying is correct. And it's just, I'm filling in all the gaps that it's like people are ignorant of, because where they're going from, they just don't understand it. You know what I mean? They don't realize that the people that they're getting information from are just being complete douchebags to how they fucking want it. Now, more games are being made in 4K. But again, if you start, why the fuck are people talking about 6K, 8K, and even 16K? Like, seriously, I found this video the other day by this, I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm watching this, I'm like, these fucking people are basically, literally, when you're watching this, it literally looks like you can run games, from according to what they're saying, you can run games in 16K. Now, to cover their own ass, that statement is basically what's called a loaded statement. It's like, no matter which way you look at it, you're fucked. But they will say, well, we never meant that. But if you actually watch the video, what they're relaying through the information of the video and what they're saying and all the connection points and everything else that they're talking about on importance level of connection and everything else, not once have they ever referenced that anything that you're watching to that must be made like that. At least from the parts that I saw. So they may say it in a part that I skipped over, but I don't think so, because the way they're talking about it, I'm pretty willing to bank that they didn't mention that at all. So, like I said, when I got that far into the video, I mean, I watched a good portion of it. When I got that far into the video and they didn't mention that, no, that's one of the fucking first things you mention. It's ridiculous to lead viewers on like that. So, yeah, I basically declared war on some of these. I don't want to say declared war, but you know what I mean. It's like I'm calling them out, because you don't fucking lie to your viewers. If you're going to say something, say the fucking whole thing. Don't leave pieces of information out because you want to look good. You know, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying the people in general. So it's like, when you're dealing with these fucking idiots, it's like, come on. And like I said, unless what you have made, unless what you're watching is made that way, you ain't going to be able to view it that way no matter what the fuck you do, no matter what your hardware is. That actually brings me to another point. Alright? Games, oh my god. Games that, I can't even remember what the fuck, I've like literally lost my train of thought right now. Oh, okay. Hardware. I laugh when people say, oh, this game should be running this way, or this game should be running that way, or this. No. No game should be running any set way. If you have I laugh at people who said, I spent like $10,000 on a computer. Okay. But when they're doing is, they're having an entitled attitude saying, because I spent this much hardware, the game should run that way. What are they fucking special? If you want a game to run that way, write to the fucking game company and have them make this game specifically to run in your system. It's fucking ridiculous. The arguments that people fucking use. I got a $10,000 computer. This should be running this way. Really? Says who? You? Now, I will bring in... I was originally going to bring up The Witcher 3, but there's really no point because I covered the graphical end on that. But I am going to bring up Mass Effect 3, for example, and how the community went fucking ape shit because of the ending on that. And again, this ties into everything that I'm talking about, because it's all the same principle. It's shit like the assholes that I'm talking about that started this fucking problem. Now, if you take a look on the surface of Mass Effect 3, the problem that people have with the ending, as a general consensus as a whole, the community said there's something wrong with it. However, if you put aside all that bullshit and you actually take a look at the structure of the way it's designed, there was nothing wrong with the fucking end of it. Now, I'm going to tell you this straight off the bat. I fucking hate BioWare, and I fucking hate the Mass Effect series. I can't fucking stand them. So I didn't want to get the impression that I like BioWare, so I'm sticking up for them, because I'm not. However, I will right a wrong where it's fucking needed, because this is ridiculous. So I use Stephen King as an example when I talk about Mass Effect 3. And the reason why is because on the surface, as a whole, in the world, the average person thinks Stephen King can write. And that's a fair assumption because that's the mass consensus. It doesn't matter whether he can't write. The general consensus who people read his books, that's fine because nobody's going to bitch about that. But when you're talking about the Mass Effect 3 series, on the surface, everybody bitched and said there's something fucking wrong with it. But if you actually take it apart, there is nothing wrong with it. Now, why this applies to Stephen King shit and why I brought that up, because on the surface, while everybody thinks he can write properly, if you take his writings to somebody who actually knows how to write, like a professor in like a high prestige college or anything else like that, they will tell you he does not know how to fucking write. Now, whether or not that matters isn't the point. The point is that on the surface, the issue here that I'm making the comparison on, is on the surface, it appears as something is wrong or isn't wrong with it. But when you dig below that and you put that shit aside, you actually find out whether or not something actually is or isn't wrong with something. And that's where I'm going with this. So, first of all, I didn't really have any respect for them, for the company anyway, because I just don't like fucking the way BioWare makes a lot of their games, because it's for a different reason. Actually, I have a disdain for fucking developers. I have a disdain for developers for a very specific reason, and it doesn't have anything to do with game stories, because I don't give a shit about game stories. I read, not to be cocky, but I read at such a freaking high level that I interpret what the thing says by going exactly to what's written on the screen or what's written there. So to me, this is why my channel, nobody else in the world will be able to do anything that's on my channel, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to replicate it because they're not capable. I'm not saying that they're dumb, but they're not capable of pulling the information out the way I am, because I look at things that gamers, I'm the only person in existence. If you watch any of my videos, you will find that the generalized statement is, you're the only person that's finding a fucking problem with this. That doesn't mean that there's not a problem with it. That just means I happen to find it. And just because I'm the only one that talks about it doesn't mean that other people didn't find a problem with it. It just means that nobody else said anything. But back to the point. So when I rip something apart, I don't rip it apart. I take a look at the structure of it and how it's designed. So when you take a look at Mass Effect 3, there's nothing wrong with the way Mass Effect 3's ending is. The problem had nothing to do with the developer or how the story was written. The problem had to do with the fucking community didn't like the way it was done because they went ballistic because they got too damn attached to their fucking characters in the game. Now, keeping in mind, I haven't played Mass Effect. I haven't really gone into the Mass Effect series, and even I know that. I just know it from people that played it and talked about it. The only times I've played the Mass Effect games is when I fucking ripped them apart and showed how shitty they were developed. And so the thing with this is that when you're dealing with the Mass Effect 3, on the surface, again, everybody had an issue with it. That's the community fucking bitching. That ties into what I said about these fucking assholes starting this shit about 16K resolution. They're basically using their stature in the community to start these fucked up rumors. And that's where fucking the problem that Watch Dogs graphical shit came from. The fucking falsifications on 4K games being run in 4K and resolutions. The fucking shit about Mass Effect 3. It's all tied together because it's all the gaming community is the only fucking people that apply this shit, and they only apply it to games and nothing else, even though every product in existence is done the exact same way they are complaining about. It's fucking ridiculous. And so when you start comparing all of these things together, you realize that the problem isn't coming from the developers with half of this shit. It's coming from the assholes that want to fucking start the problems who can't fucking handle not getting their way, which ties me into the Mass Effect 3 community or the Mass Effect series. It doesn't matter if Shepard fucking blew up like a balloon and flew away. Now, we've been like, you didn't play the series. How do you know that? Because I don't have to know that. Guess what? They wrote the ending a certain way. Deal with it. If you don't like the ending of a movie, complaining about it is not going to get the developer or the maker of the movie to rewrite the fucking storyline. It doesn't matter whether it sucks. People are like, oh, that sucks. And they spread it around that the movie sucks. They don't bitch and moan to the point where they can fucking change the story. It doesn't make any fucking sense because that is literally the exact same argument. And when you're looking at it on that end, and this is, again, thanks for tuning in, viewers. I'm explaining the differences and why gamers don't really have a valid argument because they only think what they're applying applies to games and game developers and nowhere else, even though every product in existence that I just explained does the exact same thing. Gamers just want to cherry pick where they fucking apply it to. It's why they argue with me in my videos. So anyway, sorry about that. I was just explaining to the viewers that were tuning in. So now what happens is, I come back to what I said about the Mass Effect 3 community. It doesn't fucking matter whether Shepard turned green. Why would that fucking do anything? It doesn't change the fucking ending. The ending is the way they wrote it. BioWare should have told the entire community to fuck off. And it's too bad you don't like it. Instead, they caved. Instead of standing their ground, saying to the community, we fucking wrote the game, that's going to be it. Now, I understand that they want to appease people. But guess what? How many fucking games come out each year that people piss and moan about, and yet they still buy them? How does that make any fucking sense? Because it's like, well, you know, I won't play the game anymore. So fucking what? Don't buy it. It's almost like this reminds me of the stupidity level of Capcom. Capcom, when they were talking about Resident Evil 6, as shitty as that sounds, I'm using this as an example to get my point across. Resident Evil 6, when it came out, before Resident Evil 6 came out, as shitty as the game was, before Resident Evil 6 came out, Capcom had promised to release it across every platform, consoles and PC. When it came down to it, what wound up happening was Capcom delayed the PC version, put out the console versions, and then PC users are like, what the fuck? They were getting their money refunded and everything else. Not that they wouldn't have done that anyway, but that's not the point. The point here is that they fucking crippled their PC sales when it was released. Then, finally, after 8 months, they finally released Resident Evil 6 on the PC, when nobody gave a fuck about it, and the game was already out to give it a bad rep. And so, it didn't need to get a bad rep from people. It was fucking bad to begin with. People just started spreading it around. So by the time it was released on PC, it was already, nobody gave a shit about it, or only a few hardcore fans. When I say nobody, I don't mean everybody. I'm just saying, you know, for the generalized public, nobody gave a fuck. You know what I mean? I had no desire or interest in it at all. I didn't even read the reviews. I just had no fucking desire to it because that is a blatant lie. I mean, they're not required to release anything. The game developer can fucking release anything any way they want. I'm saying from a marketing standpoint, it doesn't make it's a ridiculous. Now, people can use I got into a debate with this with my friend, and he actually said, well, I'd rather have a game wait, you know, and be polished up and then come out. He failed to understand the concept that when it's put out, it doesn't fucking matter whether it's polished. Nobody's going to give a fuck about it in that regard because it's been too friggin' long. If they wanted to get interest in it, they should have released it when they released it on the consoles. So what winds up happening is, Capcom bitched about their sales being so fucking low for the PC version of that. Duh, you fucking released it when nobody gave a shit. You didn't release it when you said you were going to. And that's your decision, but don't fucking release it. Don't ignore the fucking that part of the community and then friggin' ignore that and then piss and moan your sales are fucking done. And that's the same stupidity level of fucking BioWare. Instead of trying to appease people or, you know, whatever, you can look at that as being fucked over, but they basically point blank didn't tell everybody too fucking bad. We're putting our foot down. You don't like the ending? Oh well, deal with it, because that's the way they wrote it. So, in a sense, who really wrote the fucking ending of the game? Who really wrote that? Was it BioWare or the fans? If you're going to do the fan base, then don't even fucking write the game. Have the fans write it and send it in and then use all the fan stuff. That would at least make sense. Because if you did that with the fans and then they pulled that shit, the fans could easily turn around and say, that's not what we wrote. You know, you should change that. That would be a completely different story. But the fact is, the fans didn't write it. The fans only got pissed off and they didn't force BioWare to do anything. BioWare could have basically told everyone to go fuck themselves, and they should have. Honestly, they really should have. Now, again, this is coming from somebody who doesn't like a lot of the way BioWare's games are. I don't like them, and I'm even saying this. So again, this goes to show you that I know how to separate the bullshit from being biased. Now, there are games on my channel that I love. If you look at them, I still have videos about how fucking badly they're programmed, because how badly they're programmed has nothing to do whether or not I like the game or not. And that's where a lot of people start yelling at me for this shit. And it's like, I make videos like this, and people will skip through parts of it and just say, oh, you're on a rant, you don't know what you're talking about, and I skipped through this. Well, if you skip through what I said, you really can't be commenting on stuff without sounding like an asshole or an idiot, because you skipped over all of the explanations that I gave that led up to what I'm talking about. So it's kind of like one of these situations where people are just fucked and want to get their way. And that brings me to false advertising on a game. There's people, like, again, the Watch Dogs, they lied to us. Nobody fucking lied to you. People decided to take that upon themselves and decide that's how the game was going to be. When it comes to game development, nowhere do they even have to release it. A game developer could tell you to go fuck yourself and shut your account down just for because they can. Would it be smart? No, but they legally can actually do that. There's nothing stating they have to give this to you at all. And that brings me into, I'm surprised BioWare didn't turn around and fucking sue people for violation of terms of service. I'm surprised that people were even still allowed to get online with that. Because once you violate, because game developers are so fucking hell-bent. They're so fucking hell-bent on people not modding their games, but yet the gaming developers in general never went after anybody or the person who released the way to unlock the fucking character on the disc that was there. Which brings into another fucking problem. Okay? Fucking around on a disc content is illegal according to the way game developers don't want mods being done. You're fucking with the game content. Now, you can say let's say you had it on a disc. You purchased the disc. That's fine. You own a physical copy of the disc. You don't own what's on it. The terms of service that you agree make it that way. Because what you're paying for in a game is not the files or anything else. What you're paying for is the license right to use the product. You don't even own the product. So people fucking around on the disc in itself is an issue. Because that's literally going into the game and fucking editing it. Now, here's the other part of the problem. The DLC itself was never on the disc. The DLC itself was actually on the server you had to download, because the DLC for that was the mission, not the fucking character. The character was a reward for completing the mission, but it wasn't the DLC. And this is the shit that people fail to explain, and why what I'm explaining covers all of it. And it starts to get you to see that the gaming community doesn't actually have half the fucking bitching gripes it actually has to. It doesn't have a valid complaint. It doesn't, because everything I'm explaining is the reality on it. And so what you have here is a bunch of fucking idiots that were just complaining to get their way, and you have assholes in starting shit that's not true and spreading rumors around the net, using their stature, knowing people are going to do it, and then basically before you know it, there's a fucking shitstorm. So while I disagree with some of the business practices that they do, nothing what they're doing is illegal, and that brings me to the point of false advertising. I very simply say, next time you hear anybody bitching and moaning about how the way a game is supposed to look, all you need to do is turn around and ask them this. Well, why aren't you complaining you don't get Elmer's glue in your cereal? How come you're not complaining that the turkey you bought from the store isn't already brown and shiny looking? How come you don't fucking complain that you're not getting soap suds in your hot chocolate when you fucking pour it? The reason why I brought all this shit up is because that's how food's designed. The milk in cereal is Elmer's glue. So when they show cereal online on TV, are they lying to you? Is that false advertising because you're not getting the cereal with the Elmer's glue? No, because the Elmer's glue isn't part of that. They're displaying their product very exceptional, but when you get it, it doesn't fucking matter. Because what they're selling isn't the milk, it's the product itself. And that's why I bring this up with Watch Dogs. Ubisoft said, here's a concept we have. It's a concept where you can use a cell phone to hack. And everything's connected to a main grid. That's it. That's all they frickin' said. Now, would it be wise? Now, they put graphics to that, so yes, they normally go hand in hand, so I'm not gonna use that as an argument. But what I am gonna say is, nowhere does Ubisoft have to release the game in that condition at all. They don't fucking have to make him look like that at all. Because what it looks like has nothing to fucking do with what they're selling. They are selling a hacking game using a cell phone to hack into a mainframe fucking computer. Or, over central system. And that's exactly what they delivered. They could have delivered Aiden looking like a fucking 16-bit pixel who popped out on a billboard when you used it saying toasty, and, having you type in commands on a fucking phone with a virtual keyboard showing 1980s graphics. And guess what? They would have never been false advertising. Do you know why? Because the issue isn't about what the fucking game looks like. Did they release a hacking game that hacked into a mainframe like they said that they were going to? And the answer is yes. So how the fuck is that false advertising? Would it be wise to do that? No, but it's not false advertising. Now, you can say that, well, why would you do that and and lead people into believing that? No, I'm not saying they would do this. I'm just saying the comparison I'm making here is to show that graphicking doesn't apply to false advertising. Why would they make it like that? Why would they make it look good like that? Because they're advertising their fucking product. That's what you do with a product. You make it look as good as you can, and then you sell it. That's how all products work. So my point is, people pissing and moaning that they're not getting, oh, the graphics in the game, it's still in the coding and everything else, would be the equivalency of them not complaining that their fucking cereal doesn't come with Elmer's glue. Their turkey isn't already brown and shiny when it comes out of a package. They're, whatever. You know what I mean? It's fucking ridiculous. So all of these people that are putting these fucking problems out, despite even saying this, it doesn't matter, because after the shitstorm happened, it's like a tidal wave. It's like trying to fucking put a 2x4 up to block a fucking wave. It's not going to work, because nobody's going to give a shit about the 2x4, despite that's the key factor here with this when you're holding up a wall or whatever it is. Nobody's going to give a fuck. It's already too late. The mess has already been caused. And that's what these assholes fucking do. They use the freaking mass crowds to start this shit, so it becomes a tidal wave, and then it spreads like wildfire throughout the freaking internet. And they will use detailed shit to explain why. But the fact of the matter is, nothing that they're saying matters, because I just explained why false advertising doesn't matter. That overrides anything that they can fucking say, but nobody's going to listen to it, so it doesn't even matter. So everything I'm saying isn't going to change anything, but it does educate people when they're, when they're looking at this stuff, how to actually look at it. You have to look at what they're not telling you instead of what is being told. That is the issue, and that's what I do. My channel is filled with this shit. But as you can see, like for example, I just had somebody post a stupid ass comment into my Guild Wars 2 video that I explained how fucking just exactly how bad are the instructions in this, or lack thereof. And in the video, I've said countless times, if you post any comments under here trying to use common sense or say something without showing me where the game developer itself said, there was a whole system that I used to explain this. I said, if you're going to explain this, you need to use the system. Saying it's common sense or some other shit, I'm just going to delete your fucking video, because I'm not going to have that type of bullshit trying to counteract what I'm talking about. So if I open up, like, I open up a screen and show there's no text instruction on the screen, people will argue and say the screen's explained. From their viewpoint, doesn't make it explained. Unless it's from everybody's viewpoint, it's not explained. So the point is that, I've had people that I've told, I will delete your video, or I am not going to listen to you, because here it is. If I show a screen if I open up a screen and say there's no text instruction on the screen, that's a fact, because there's no text instructions on the screen. People fucking, oh yeah, it is, you just don't understand it. No, what they're saying is that there's text instructions on the screen to show me where it is. If I open up a screen and there's no text instructions, it's a fact. There's nothing to fucking argue with. Trying to say, well, it's common sense about what to do, or you didn't look over here or anything else, it is a fucking inane comment. It has no validity here, because we're not talking about what people view. We're talking about, does the fucking thing have text instructions or doesn't it? Trying to argue past that point is pointless. I'll just delete the comment, because this isn't about what people's opinions are or how would you look at the screen. I'm not asking your fucking opinion. I'm asking you, is there text instruction on the screen or not? Period. And if there isn't, there's nothing further to talk about. It's not a debate. It's, it's like I can put a video up about a car and then show the car as a flat tire. And that's it. That's all I show. people will make a debate out of it. They will start saying, you're poor because you can't afford tires, or my nephew can change tires. You should look up videos how to do it. Go to a garage. You should ask a friend. Look up YouTube videos and all the shit that has nothing to do with anything, all because I pointed out a car has a flat tire. So that's the difference between the mentality of people. They take it upon themselves to start saying what they see or what they think is it. Well, you know, there were other types of instructions. I never said that there wasn't. Oh, you're just dumb. Why? Because I'm not allowing you to counteract my argument? You know what I mean? Come on, it's dumb. And this is the shit that people can't stand on my videos. I will get shit on because of this video, but here's the thing. I don't really give a fuck because I'm just going to delete comments because there's nothing to debate here. I'm just informing people that when you watch these videos, you're not getting full information. It's what you're not getting that matters. Now, if you take a look, I didn't just say that. I went through and I gave explicitly detailed things backing up exactly what the issue is. I gave comparisons on everything else so you can see that it's all relevant. So for people to complain on one thing and not another means they're cherry picking how they want the argument to be instead of actually saying it. So it's like I always tell people, oh, you know, well, they always try to tell me when I come up with these videos, well, the developer assumes you know this. And I said, well, then the opposite end applies too. The developer assumes you don't know it. Your argument is no more valid than mine, just like mine is not any more valid than yours. The fact is, unless the developer comes out, it's a no end win loss situation on both ends. I'm no more factual than you are. You're no more factual than I am. However, I can state the one thing that I have over the counter argument is that I have the damn screen opened, and I've already proven the developer has already given text instructions for part of it, and then there's no text instructions here. So there is no arguing that it's an incomplete instruction. That's where people go out of their mind with it. And so, you know, it's like when in the Division the other night, I fucking had this whole debate with people about keybinds. It was amazing because, you know, they had nothing to say when I said L2, I'm sorry, the right trigger on the 360 controller aims. I'm sorry, on the left trigger on the 360 controller aims and the right trigger shoots. It's a keybind. When you are told L2 aims and R2 shoots, when you press those, you expect that to happen. And then, you know, you go through a bunch of other things that they did, and then I come to this one keybind where it says X mod the weapon, and then when you press X, it opens up a mod menu. And then people are like, well, that's just semantics. That has nothing to fucking do with what I just explained. So people would totally ignore that every keybind in the game up until that point is correct. Whether or not it does what it said, you know, you can follow the instructions after that, isn't what I'm talking about. Well, it's not that big of a deal. I never said it was. I'm just showing there's an inconsistency. So what happens is people will ignore whatever they feel like and only apply things where they want to. So it's like when somebody said to me, again, the Division thing. People like saying, you know, well, it's common sense from other games, this, that, and the other thing. But when I started doing that, they said, no, it doesn't apply there. So they were trying to cherry pick where it goes. So the whole point that I'm making is gamers trying to cherry pick where they want shit doesn't just apply to everything I've talked about. They also apply it to my videos, saying, you know, I'll even say, hey, you know, you're saying to use other games' information and use common sense, but you're saying to use it only where you want me to use it instead of across the board. So what you have to do here is, if you're going to use common sense and those statements from other games into one game, you have to apply it to everything in that particular game, or you can't say it at all. You can't cherry pick where it goes just because you don't like the explanation I just gave. Because it would be like saying, well, every other game in existence uses, all right, so I'll say, how do you shoot? Well, how do you jump? How do you jump in an MMO? It's usually spacebar, but that isn't the point whether it's usually spacebar. Doesn't matter whether a million games use spacebar. You're talking about the current game that it's in. So whether or not it actually uses spacebar isn't the point, but everybody will argue that. The point is if the game is explained, it will even tell you spacebar jumps. And, well, it doesn't need to do that. Says who, you? You don't need the instructions to open up your disk drive in your computer. So does that mean that the fucking instruction doesn't need to be there? No, it's still in the fucking user manual. So you don't need training wheels on a bike, so nobody else does? Who the fuck are you to tell what somebody else that they need? And then so, going back to my point that, you know, spacebar usually jumps in an MMO. How about using your mouse buttons inside, you know, a shooter? Left mouse button usually aims, and right mouse button fires. That's basically a staple point in shooters. But that has nothing to do with it We're talking about this game. So what will happen is people will say that literally this is ridiculous. This is literally one of the arguments that they had, not with the mouse, but what I'm about to say with the radar. So in the division, the other night I was saying, well, you know, L2 aims, shit like that. No, that doesn't apply there. I said, so what you're saying is that whole concept doesn't apply. It applies everywhere else except here because you're saying it doesn't too. And just so, let's say, you know, have you ever played other games? Yeah, okay. So, right mouse button fires, left mouse button aims. However, when I brought up the fact that if you're going to talk about shooters and left mouse button aiming and right mouse button firing, then let's use common sense with the radar or the minimap, where in all other shooters and even MMOs, enemies are red dots on either the radar or minimap denoting their location. Well, you know, and then that turned into, well, you know, common sense tells you what direction it's going in. You just fucking told me to use common sense and other shit from other games. Now that I am, you're fucking arguing that point, but yet you're not arguing that point about the mouse. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? So this is the stupidity level and the stupid shit on the net that people do. It's fucking amazing. And so the thing that people argue with me about is I don't allow them to cherry pick what they say. If you make a claim, then you're going to apply that claim throughout the entire thing. Why? Because I'm not going to allow you to cherry pick where that fucking claim comes from. Well, you're just saying that. Then don't say use common sense and have you played other games, because that's basically saying use the stuff from other games. But when you do, they try to get around that. So that's why I don't allow that. Either apply it all the way or don't say it. Because it becomes, if you're going to apply it one way but not the other, but then you're going to say, oh, apply it here but not here, you've basically canceled out your argument on both ends. Either you want to use, why can't I use other sense in there? Well, it doesn't apply there. Well, you just told me it did. Then you can't apply it to the mouse. Yes, I can. All right, then you have to apply it here. No, you can't. And then you just get into a conflict between these fucking idiots. And so if you start looking at everything that I just explained throughout this entire video, you will see when you're watching these people that talk about these resolutions, talk about false advertising in games, talk about the product development, product release, you start to realize that they're not actually applying that concept to everything that they talk about, and they will talk about the same types of stuff. So why aren't they applying what they're saying to everything that they're talking about? It makes no sense. And that is because they only cherry pick where they want it. So when I ask somebody will say, what do you want, your handheld for everything? I says, okay, how's this for an example? How would you like to buy a product, a shelf, for example, that came with that when you pay for it, you're basically paying for instructions. So when you get them out of the box, it requires a very special screwdriver. And then when you don't get that screwdriver, you're on the fucking phone with the company saying, I thought this was supposed to come with a screwdriver. And then having the company tell you, look it up, figure it out. Well, the maker assumed you already had the screwdriver at home. They're all the same arguments. So people that try to attack my videos with this, I just turn around and say, well, you're talking about the same thing with this. And so it's become a crutch statement where games have become schoolwork, where development has become so fucking lazy that somehow gamers actually think games are all right in the condition that they're in, and they're not. And the same way with all these, the developmental flaws that are in these games that these assholes start. That's what I'm saying. So when next time you're reading something like that, or if you come across an even 6K video, remember everything I said, because there's no fucking such thing as 6K. It doesn't exist. Maybe it exists on the monitor. The monitor can do that. But the fact remains, it actually doesn't exist in any product yet. Well, that the public has. I can't say it doesn't exist because I don't really know, if the military has something or not. But it's like, it's a really fucking stupid argument. So, again, you not only have to look at what they're telling you, you have to look at what they're not telling you. You also have to look at where the baseline of these things are coming from. And so it's, it's like wording, all right? I constantly laugh at people, and I have actually corrected people. And I've literally gotten, I'll tell you the response in a minute, but I'll tell you the word I'm talking about. It's funny because gamers in general will copy stuff blindly that other people are talking about, without knowing what they're talking about, not realizing that the people that they're copying have done the same thing. So what you wind up with is a bunch of idiots running around from these fucking assholes that they hold in high regard. And I do call them fucking assholes because they don't explain anything. If you're going to be on a professional level that regard, and you know people are going to be talking about, going to you, you should fucking explain the entire thing. You don't just fucking say something and leave it alone. That's just dumb. And it's bad. And so some of the shit that the developers do, would it be advisable? No. But at least they would have the balls to say this to the community. So they should have basically told the community of Mass Effect that they didn't like the ending to go fuck themselves. We wrote it, you didn't, too fucking bad. And so again, what people are not feel, or what people are failing to realize with that is, it would be one thing if the game developer said, hey, I got to write a storyline. Can everybody give me ideas from the fans? We're just going to use fans' ideas. And then they pulled that shit. That would be one thing. Because then you would have a right to bitch because they didn't do what you said. Now, here's the thing. Nowhere are they required to take that. They can ask for that. So I just want to be clear. Unless they were contracted to do that, it doesn't fucking mean anything. They can take any idea that they want and tell everybody to go fuck themselves, and without a word, just in midstream, just end the game. That ending would still be perfectly legal. Would it be advisable? Fuck no. But it doesn't change anything. Bitching about it doesn't change anything. Bitching about the ending of Mass Effect 3 is no different than bitching about a movie ending you don't like. Is the movie director going to tell you I'm going to change it? No, he's going to tell you to go fuck yourself. Basically, I'm not changing it. The movie's done. Deal with it. So it just amazes me how the game developers don't do that same fucking thing. So as you're starting to see, I'm putting things into perspective that make these arguments that people come up with null and void. They're not even valid arguments because I'm filling in all of the pieces you realize that make these arguments dumb. So that's really all I got to say on this. I mean, unless you got something to say, I can sit here and eat fish sticks. That's what I've been doing. So I don't know if I was able to educate you or whatever it is, but I guarantee if you come back here and read any comments under this, somebody will tell me I'm wrong about something. It's amazing. Or they will say that's a bad comparison. What, because you say so? So when I make a video on how a game developer is, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. The bottom line is, if I open up a fucking screen and show there's no text instructions, trying to fucking tell me that there are instructions on the screen like that means either A, you're trolling, B, you're saying it to spite me, or B, you actually believe that. So it just amazes me. And as I said about the car tire, the car with the flat tire, I will literally be told what I mean. No, you really mean this. It's like, I know what I said, you know what I mean? I've had people try to tell me what I mean. Yeah, you are, you're saying this. Most of the people I found that do that are Steam users. It's amazing. So I don't know if I was actually able to enlighten you or educate you or whatever. But I've been wanting to make this video for a while after that video I saw from those assholes. And again, I'm not going to say the name of the company because I'm probably sure that they're not the only ones to do it. But that's where this shit starts. So, even if one person gets informed, that's really all that matters, you know what I mean? If you understand what I'm talking about. So, it just amazes me. The stupidity level, it just never fails. I will never run out of material because game developers will always cave to their audience. They will always make shitty fucking developed games because they're trying to take shortcuts. And a game developer can't put their foot down with the community. So while I don't condone certain things, I will stick up for certain things that are out there, such as, again, I don't fucking like BioWare. I don't like the way they design their games. I fucking can't stand them. But again, I don't like them for other reasons. Now, me not liking a game doesn't have anything to do with me showing what's wrong with the games. Now, you can say, oh, you're showing this game because you don't like it. But there's games on my channel I do like that I go over the same problem. It has nothing to do with whether I like it or not. Now, am I more apt to make a video about a game I don't like? Oh, fuck yeah. I'm not going to lie about that. That's just common sense. Because it's a lot easier to make something... It's a lot easier to talk about something you don't like than it is to something you like. But that's where the bias needs to be separated from people. You may not like what I'm saying. Doesn't change the fact that what I'm saying is a fact. And all the comparisons I'm talking about are the way they are. Everything I'm talking about can be researched and backed up. But you don't try to do research about what I'm talking about with the people I'm talking about. That's just not logical. That would be like trying to put a video, as I said earlier in the beginning of the video, that I don't know if you were here for, but basically that would be like posting a complaint video with stuff in your video that gets your video removed from a certain site and then hosting that video on the site you're getting it removed from. Why would you do that? That doesn't even make any sense. So if you have a video that gets taken down on YouTube for having specific content, and then you put a complaint video up with that same content that got it removed in the first place, and then you posted it again, what would be the point to that? It's just going to be taken down. Your complaint's not going to get heard. Go fucking host it somewhere else. I did that with a Valve video. Oh yeah, it's still up on the net. So it's not here. I just hosted it on another place that isn't going to take it down for the same... It may take it down, but it won't be taking it down for the same reasons it was removed from YouTube. YouTube has gone fucking downhill since Google owned it. And there's been a lot of shit... There's a lot of corrupted shit that Google does. It's fucking unreal. Google has committed fucking fraud, and that's why I was talking to somebody about the lady that went in and shot up Google headquarters, and the reason she shot it. Now, I mean, I don't condone that behavior. Don't go out and do that. But the fact of the matter is, I understand why she did it. It would be like we've all been bullied on the net by fucking some idiot in a game. Now, most of us are adults. We can walk away, but that isn't even the fucking point. That shit's not even supposed to be going on in games to begin with. The developers are, or whoever it is supposed to, whoever's controlling that end of it, is not even supposed to allow those people to remain in the game. It is a major violation of terms of service. But yet they let them remain in, and then it's okay for people to do that, but it's not okay for people to complain about it. It's fucking ridiculous. And so, it's like why people went on to, why that lady went in and shot freaking Google headquarters. Now, again, don't go shoot anybody. That's fucking dumb. If you're going to attack it, if you're going to, deal with the problem, attack it from a legal angle. Don't fucking go out of, that's not going to, I understand why they do it. In regards of, if you get fucked over on the net by somebody or, thrown out of a forum because people are talking about you, that's fucking bullying. It doesn't matter what degree it is, doesn't matter whether it's a forum, you were fucking bullied. Bullying is no more different on the net than it is on a fucking playground in school. So why is it people are more apt to say, well, it's more, it's not acceptable in person, but it is on the fucking net. Bullying's bullying. It doesn't fucking matter where it's done. And so, well, most adults will just, whatever, because there's really nothing you can do about it. It doesn't change the fact that shit happens. And this is why streamers get swatted. I can tell you exactly why fucking streamers get swatted. I will guarantee you. Now, I don't take a standpoint on one way or the other, but I do lean toward, if somebody's getting swatted online, on live, they did something to deserve that, because nobody just swats anybody for the fuck of it. I guarantee you, at some point, if you go back and look at every single person that's swatted, every fucking one of them, maybe with the exception of one person, I'll give the leeway on that, but maybe with the exception of one person, I will almost guarantee you that streamer did something to somebody to piss them off so fucking bad that the person had no other retaliation except to do that. Now, do I condone that? Fuck no. Don't do that. I don't really like the police when they're abusive, but using resources is fucked up. You don't do that. But at the same token, having been on the receiving end of that, I'm glad they fucking did it, and then they got exactly what they deserved, should that be the case. Because it's like, the net has no oversight. So people are allowed, and game developers are allowed to run around and do whatever that they want. So, despite explaining everything I explained about the fucking people that are spreading the false rumors, I'm surprised the gaming companies didn't go after these assholes to start on these fucking rumors. But it's not right to be doing. If I were the game company, if I were the game developers and that shit started, I would have turned around and grabbed the fucking people that did it. Because there's no oversight on any of this, on anything. So it's like when Facebook gets an announcement that somebody's dead. That shouldn't be fucking allowed. Why are you allowed to say somebody's fucking dead on Facebook? You know what I mean? That's just fucking dumb. That may sound dumb, but I'm just saying you shouldn't be allowed to fucking pull shit like that. And I'm not saying nobody's investigating it right now, but why is Facebook allowed to fucking do that? Like, why are they allowing that? You can't stop it, but you can remove. You shouldn't even be allowed on Facebook. Your account should be fucking banned. Period. Your account should be deleted. You shouldn't even have an account if you pull something like that. Everybody involved that's spreading that should be fucking forewarned not to do that. I mean, hell, you got Facebook in trouble for selling people's data, but yet you have like it's like some people don't think that's a big deal. Other people think, other people think it's a big deal. Fucking not say anything about that shit either. But this is all the shit on the net that happens because there's no oversight on any of this shit. Think about this, all right? If a game developer was forced to enforce their terms of service, like a third-party government stepped in and says, no. You have a terms of service that said you're not allowed to do this in a game. Here are these people doing it. You're going to remove them and force the gaming developer or whoever it is, whoever oversees that, to remove those people. And then, on top of that, enforce every piece of the terms of service like that, even if it's that severe. It's a contract. You violate it, you're in breach, period. There's no, the degree of this. This isn't like fucking murdering. This isn't like somebody getting murdered. There's degrees of it. This is you signed a contract stating this is not going to happen, therefore you're held responsible when you do it, period. So now who is to determine that comes up at the question. So when you got things like, cyber stalking, cyber harassment, all that shit's in the terms of service that nobody reads. Now, those are real things. And the federal government, at least in the United States, has already defined what those are. So the whole statement inside the terms of service that game developers love to fucking hide behind is, we think, or we deem, or we don't think this is bullshit, because you can't dictate what that stuff is. That stuff has already been defined for you. By doing that, that's basically saying they can tell the federal government to go fuck themselves. Those mean nothing because we're going to tell you what it means, not the other way around. And so that's a fucking problem. Because I can pull out numerous instances, and I'm sure you can too, and plus I can Google tons of videos showing that exact problem going on, and nothing's done about it. Same shit about fucking YouTube with their content ID claim system. That's a fucking problem here because it allows people to put false claims against something that is on the thing, and then it's taken down, and then you have to prove it wasn't. And even if you do, sometimes it's never the fucking removal is upheld. I mean, you got the content ID claim system flagging people's own music that they made. They made it, and it's flagged. And then when they fucking point, they put the counterclaim saying, "Hey, we own this. This is ours. There's no possible. Who the fuck is this to take claim into our music?" And then as soon as they put that in, nope, the claim's upheld. How the fuck can that even be upheld? Who the fuck is overseeing that? That's not even a mistake. That's fucked. And so saying, it's on your serve, it's on our site, we can do what we want. That only applies to a certain level, because what happens is when it comes to certain things like a fraudulent ID claim, that's perjury. Because a content ID claim counterclaim, a counter on that, is a legally binding document that comes from the fucking federal government. It's a copyright infringement document that comes from the fucking court system. That's not even something that you can friggin' do. Lying on that means you committed fucking perjury. Committing perjury on a court document's felony. It's a felony charge. It's not even a state charge. It's not even a misdemeanor. It's a fucking felony. And so what you have here is people committing fucking felonies on YouTube. It's a fucking felony. And yes, there are degrees of felony, but a felony is a fucking serious charge. And even in the terms of service, Google has, because Google owns YouTube. So what happens is, if you look at the policy, it says we take any fraudulent copyright claims serious as it's a felony. And if it's proven to be a felony, we will take action. Yet nothing happens. And the reason nothing happens is because there's no oversight. So what you, the user, have to do is actually take Google to the fucking court. You have to take them to court in order to get that done. And that's fucking way beyond, that's pretty much way beyond everybody's scope. So what you have here is this stupid shit on the net. It's just, it's stupid shit on the net that it's like watching a video of somebody punching somebody just literally from start to finish. let's say you follow two people around all day. Both people are on camera all day from the time they woke up till the time they met, and then all of a sudden, person A pulls off when they meet and smashes person B in the face, and then saying, well, there needs to be an investigation. No, person fucking A smashed them. How fucking hard is it? Instead, no, well, we gotta see the events that led up to that. They didn't fucking do anything. They met each other and he fucking punched him. It's on video. You know, and it's like, it's stupid shit like that. It fucking amazes me. It amazes me how the simplest fucking things that are proven somehow need some form of investigation or all this other shit. It's just, it's fucking ridiculous. How do you even fucking, oh, it needs an investigation. It's on fucking video. I don't understand this. So until there's oversight on this, games are just going to be a fucking mess. People are going to get away with shit online that they're not supposed to be getting away with. And, I don't know, there's just a random amount of shit. So, you know, this is, again, back to what I was saying on why the fucking lady went and shot fucking YouTube up. Because YouTube starts fucking with people's income. That is illegal in the United States. That's a felony. You cannot, a business cannot interfere with the ability for you to make money. Doesn't matter whether it's hosted on YouTube. This would be the equivalency of saying, well, I pay tax on the sidewalk, so I can stand in front of the door of your work and prevent you from getting in the door. You kidding me? I'd be fucking arrested. That doesn't change the fact that that's what's going on. Oh, it's our site. You're interfering with somebody fucking doing it. Doesn't matter where you fucking own it. You're still interfering with the ability to make somebody make money. That's literally no different. That's like saying I pay tax on the sidewalk, so I fucking own it. I have a right to stand in front of the door. I don't have a right to fucking block you from getting money. Doesn't matter whether I own the fucking sidewalk. So, unless you really have anything to say, I think I'm just going to wind up ending the stream. A couple people came in. You know, we're listening. Probably going to put up comments about me ranting. Whatever. But this is something I've been wanting to get off my chest for a while. Especially after I saw that video the other day. Like last week, it was ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. So, that's about it. Unless you got something to say, I'm just going to end the stream. Saying, if you supported me, cool. If you're subscribed, cool, whatever. One thing I don't do is I don't tell anybody to subscribe to me, and I don't tell you to like my videos. If you do, you do. You don't, you don't. That's completely on the person. I think, honestly, saying that to people is intrusive, and it's my opinion that you should do it on your own. It should never be asked. I get why people do that, but it should be asked. I just don't think that's right. Would you tell somebody to get in your car if you don't want them in there? That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, that's bad. I shouldn't have fucking said that. I have no idea what the hell that even fucking meant. But the yeah, ignore that last comment. That literally just made no fucking sense. I was trying to make a comparison, but it failed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end the stream, and I'll check out. I'm gonna go check out a couple other streamers just to give them some views and shit. So. Hope you enjoyed this hour and 20 minutes. That's about it. So, like I said, unless you got something to say now, I'll just end the stream. I'll give you time to reply, in case you were going to. If not, then oh well. In other words, I know the stream is behind itself. Like, I know it's delayed, so I don't want to close it if you're in the middle of typing, so I'll give it a minute. And just to let you guys, just let whoever else is watching know that the quality of my streams, if all goes well, should improve on March 1st. March? April? May? Yeah, it's March. April, May. Sorry, May 1st. I don't know what the fuck I said March for. It should improve on March for, April, May. May 1st. Because I'm getting, my internet speed's getting upgraded. Right now it's only 5 megabytes, but it's going up to 35. So it should be a significant increase in quality after this, according to how this is now. It's not going to be like the best, but it'll definitely be a significant impact difference between the way it is now till that. So I mean, a 30 megabyte increase in upload speed is huge. At least for me, anyway. And I am looking in to get this monetized because I realize that my whole channel fell into place with stuff that I do, and nobody can copy what I'm doing. It's not that they physically can't copy it, they're just not, they don't have the capability to copy it because they don't have the same mindset I do to see things the way I do. So even if they were able to pull it off somewhat, they would never be able to pull off the entire concepts of what I do and deliver it in the way I do it. So my channel is actually truly unique in that because I'm the only person you'll find complaining about the shit in games that I am and what I'm talking about. So since I am going to wind up monetizing my channel or eventually doing it after the quality gets good and stuff like that and I look into it, I actually am going to look into toning the language down and stuff like that. That's just a rule on YouTube, so I have no choice but to do that. Unfortunately, I'd rather not, but nothing I can do about it. And that's about it. So until next time, I will be streaming a game at some point. Just don't know when. Tonight, tomorrow, somewhere over the weekend, whatever. So until then, take care, guys. This is TL Gamer signing off. Hope I educated you. Thanks.